guys, I'm Linda.
I'm Vicki.
I'm Margie.
I'm Keith.
And we are Partners in Crime. So today we're going to talk about, Keith?
Juan Catalan.
Okay.
And the documentary is called Long Shot.
Okay. And this is a Netflix documentary.
Netflix documentary, yeah.
Got it.
So, so this Juan Catalan was arrested for murdering Martha Pueblo, who was 16 years old. It was kind of like a drive-by shooting thing.
Okay.
And
what area of the country?
Los Angeles.
Okay.
And he ended up getting this lawyer. His name is Todd Melnick. And so Juan Catalan tells him that he was actually, during this murder that happened, he was at the Dodgers game that night.
Okay.
He had actually gotten tickets through, you know how you get those tickets through clients and stuff at work, and they're like, yeah, here's some free tickets, right?
Yeah.
Because they're seats that are people that buy the
Season ticket.
season ticket holders.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't go, so they give them out.
Corporate
anyway,
tickets,
so
yeah.
he goes with his daughter and his two cousins, and he gets identified because they do. There's a witness at this crime. There's a 16-year-old girl that got shot, and so he gets identified, and he's a very stereotypical-looking Latino man from LA. I mean, this image could have definitely
Could be a lot of people.
Could have been a lot of people. The thing that was interesting is, so once the lawyer finds out that he was at the game, so you know how they have when they're at games they give out prizes and stuff, and people kiss each other. They have
Jumbotron.
camera. They probably are filming tons of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it doesn't make it.
Right.
So the lawyer has to try to bug the Dodgers
Stadium.
to get the film. He apparently went hours and hours, spent days looking at all these images, and you were able to find him there, but the image was very pixelated and wasn't clear.
Okay.
And then I guess, I don't know if it was Juan, he said there was something going on that day, and here they were filming, and they find out that they were filming this Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm show, and so again, this lawyer has to call up, and they don't want to release this stuff because they don't want to release the film or give it to anybody because they're creating an episode.
Oh, so it wasn't out yet.
It wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
They were actually creating the episode. They were a little reluctant. They finally were able to do it. And in the episode, Larry David gets tickets to the Dodgers game, and he's on the way there. He's in the regular traffic lane, and it's all backed up, and he's going to be late. And in the HOV lane is flying, and this is part of the comedy part of it. The HOV lane, everybody's, and it's just him in the car. So he picks up a prostitute, so he get in the HOV lane.
High occupancy vehicle lane. Nobody knows what an HOV lane is.
Which is funny and then very...
So you need more than one person in your car.
Yeah, very... So anyway, it was... the thing was, there was a lot of things that this was that the tickets, they got them for free, and it was like they weren't sure if they were going to go or whatever. So that was kind of like a random thing that happened to get these tickets. He actually happens to be a real big Dodgers fan. Juan was. Anyway, the other thing was when they were filming, and he was sitting in the same section as Larry David and the film crew, and they left the stadium to go buy something for candy or popcorn or something. And then when they were coming back in, they were holding people up so they couldn't get in their seats because Larry David's doing this thing. He's talking with this. He ends up picking up this woman, taking her to the game, and then having these goofy conversations and stuff, right? And then the guy, which was one of those what ifs, the guy that was the security guy said, "You know what? Go ahead." And so he walks down, and that ends up being the thing that they get on film, and it's him. As you can see him clear as day. He's got his daughter. But then the other problem was that was 2 hours before the murder. The murder, right?
Okay.
And so
they could have said he had time to commit the murder.
You're right. And this apparently his prosecutor was like a very well-known and never lost a case.
Bad.
Yeah, she's like the dragon lady. It was a woman. And Pitbull, that's a good thing to look for. So this guy actually, he gets arrested. They're putting this evidence together. He ends up spending 6 months in jail.
Wow.
And the only thing the thing they were able to do is after they left the game, because they stayed the whole game, they left and they were able to use the pings on the cell phone to say, okay, he called his girlfriend, and so they were able to collaborate that.
And he did hire his lawyer. It wasn't like
he hired this lawyer.
It wasn't someone that the state.
He heard from a friend or something. This guy was a good lawyer.
Okay, good. It's good that he had the means to hire this guy too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was going to be tried for murder. And, right. It was just amazing. But the thing is that the girl that was killed. See, he had the other piece of it is that he has a brother. Juan's brother was involved in criminal activity and was known. And then also, Juan actually did, when he was younger, help him as a driver or something, and did some, stuff, right, criminal stuff. And
so he had a record.
He didn't have a record, but he was, I guess, in association. There was an association there. But the brother was actually more of a criminal, and then the other thing was that Martha was a witness in another murder. This guy, Christian, who at her house was murdered in a drive-by shooting, and she was testified. And what happened was...
And Martha was the one that was killed.
Well, it was Mario and Jose. Mario was a brother, was Juan's brother.
Okay.
So them two were involved in this drive-by shooting. Well, she did not ID them. This Martha, who was killed, didn't ID, but the cops said she did. And then so what the cops thought was Juan did this to avenge his brother, kill the witness, right, kind of thing.
Wow.
And so the woman that was murdered, Martha, was a 16-year-old girl and testified, was brought in to testify, but she would not identify
the shooter? Because
it was another fellow, a boy that she knew, a friend or something, was shot. And Juan's brother and this other a Mexican man were in prison right during this time for that, and so they believe that Juan was doing this to avenge his brother because of a misidentification. But the problem was that Martha never actually ID'd these guys. But the cops, the police, actually told them that she ID'd them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Miserable.
And anyway, the guy ends up, he gets off, and then he ends up, this is a life transformative thing for you. He goes to college, he gets a degree, and so he really made this guy Juan. It's a good story that he made, and
he made the
best. He was also he made he did something, he got I guess a big wide wake up call or whatever, but
right.
His brother and this guy Jose were the suspected killers of this boy Christian that Martha was testified for. And the thing that when I watched this, and the attorney Todd Milnick talks about his combing through this data to try to find proof of innocence, right? To try to find his alibi, identify his alibi. And as this, Juan, he knows he's at the baseball game. He knows he's innocent, right? Mm-hmm. And but you got to prove it, right? And then that was the other thing. They were trying to find the tickets, I had the same experience in myself, and I was arrested. I was arrested. I was at this. There was a guy. There was some kind of lover's quarrel where a guy pulls a gun on another guy and was over a girl, and I was there, and I got arrested and ID'd as the guy that pulled the gun, mm-hmm. and the police, it was the chief, it was the sergeant, and I spent the night in jail, and then I had to scramble because there was this one fella that I was sitting next to. I was there by myself. Mm-hmm. I was sitting I was at this diner, and this fight breaks out, and I'm talking to this fella. This guy's son was killed in Iraq, and I was in the army, so I really sympathized with him, and he ran out there to break this fight up, and I ran out after him. Because I was like, oh man, I gotta back this guy up. I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah, right.
And they lined us all up. It was snowing. I remember there was snow on the ground. I had my shoe was untied, and I bent down to tie my shoe. And the cops just jumped on me and threw me in the car. Yeah.
What did they think you were doing?
I didn't. If they knew there was a gun, they probably. Maybe I could have been calling. It was a dumb thing to do. And
so they didn't pat you down before this happened.
Just jumped on me and threw me in a car, man. I just quick as that.
Now, this guy that did do it, did you look anything like him?
Well, I don't know what the guy looked like, but the funny thing was, I can tell you, as I was remembering this. So the guy that had the gun pulled on him, he was in jail with me. He was in the next cell. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking to him, and he knows it wasn't me, and the police just were not interested in anything. They did not want to hear. In fact, as I tried to explain it to them, they were just, shut up. Don't you say anything, it's going to make it worse for you.
Why was the other guy being
I remember they stripped me naked and they put me in a tie-back suit. Yeah.
Tie-back?
I was totally strip searched. They put me in a tie-back, which is like almost like
stuff
paper.
They put on houses.
Yeah, exactly.
When you go to the doctor.
And it was too small. It was too small, and I remember when I put it on, I stood up and I ripped it wide open. And I had this, and there was no, this was like a metal, there was the bed, there was this little cell, and there was this metal, it was kind of like grating, but it wasn't even a flat surface. That was the bed. And it was cold. They kept it super cold in there. It was totally not comfortable. Couldn't sleep. There all night.
Why was the other guy being held? The guy that they...
Well, I guess that there was a fight, and he was the other person in the fight. Yeah.
Okay. So
but me and him are talking, and he's like, I know it wasn't you. And I'm like, I know. I can't
But they wouldn't even ask him. No. They wouldn't even talk to him.
I just thought, look, all you got to do is ask people. Cops were like, they didn't want nothing to do with it. In fact, they were just, they treated me like shit, man. They were just yelling at me and saying, calling me names and just treating me like a piece of crap. And I'm like, you just don't understand. I was just, shut up or you're making it worse, kind of thing. It just not wanting to hear it. And so,
goodness.
I got the court case, and it was for, I was charged with, having a gun and disorderly conduct and all this stuff. And I didn't even get a lawyer. I didn't even know. I just thought, well, I didn't do it. So,
Yeah. And this wasn't even in a big city. This was in suburban
This was at my favorite bar, and I walked there because it was a couple blocks away. It was at the Fountain Inn right on the corner there. It's Pat's Pizza now. And there was an all-night diner. There was a bar and a diner right next to each other. Right. I was in the diner eating, and I just kept, in my mind, I kept thinking, there's no ways. I'm not going to get charged with this. But I kept looking for this guy because I met him for the first time that night.
When did you look for him? Before the court case?
Yeah.
So they let you out of jail.
They let me out the next morning.
Okay.
I spent the whole night in prison, yeah.
And then between being
Yeah, I forget,
in
it was
jail,
like, it was like a month's period of
and
time.
that's when you were looking.
That's when they, I was going to go for my court date, and I didn't even think to get a lawyer because I
Didn't
thought
think you
I
needed
didn't do
it.
it. There's no way. And so I go looking for this guy. I'm describing him to everybody, and I keep going back to this place every night. I'm going there because I knew I had seen him in there before, so I knew where he hung out, but I didn't know his name, nothing. Anyway, literally the night before the court date, I find this guy, and I'm like, oh, I even was like, I kept trying hard, but I was like, I thought, anyway, I would find this guy and I'd explain the whole story to him. I'm like, you gotta come.
The guy with the gun.
No, it was the guy he was talking to.
No, it wasn't the guy. I was the guy I was talking to.
Before the fight broke out.
His son had died in Iraq,
Yeah.
and he was at the diner, and I was sitting next to him.
Right.
I started talking to him.
Right.
He actually worked there part-time as the, he wasn't on duty that night, but he was kind of there as he was eating. I think he was done his shift.
So
he was seeing
So
people.
he was witness.
Yeah.
He was my witness. I don't remember his name. I probably wrote it down.
So he was the one you were looking for?
He was the one I was looking for.
Okay. I thought you were looking for
Because I knew he could explain it, and I knew he worked there, so he had a good, I didn't know his reputation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I find this guy the night before the court. I mean, I'm begging him. He was like, no problem, I'll get there. So he comes, I go before the judge, he calls me up, I explain him exactly what happened, I tell him I got this guy, he was there with me. The police officer's there, I remember his name, it's the Pacifico, Sergeant. Anyway, I'm the guy.
Wow.
He doesn't back down off of that. So they ended up, the cop wanted us separated. And I didn't even have to, this fella, I forget his name's John. I was like, just tell him what happened. We don't need to collaborate.
Right.
The truth is the truth. Just tell him what happened. They separate us. I tell them exactly what happened. I mean, I vividly remember everything, because now I'm sort of in shock about all this. Mm-hmm. And then I had to sort of sit in this room. I don't know what he said to the guy, but when we got out, he was like, the judge threw it out.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that's what you get for tying your shoe in the snow.
Yeah, I know. I tell you what, one thing I learned there, and I was a bit arrogant, I didn't know the severity of what happened. A guy pulls a gun on somebody. I thought it was just a fight or something. I was drinking, so I was
Yeah.
I was a bit arrogant and not, man, cops pull up. That's why, it's just do not resist.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, no, sir. Do not. You get serious, man, because
it's terrible how the police are kind of focusing in on black men.
Right.
And, but they resist.
Yeah.
Well, that was that last thing that just happened in Minneapolis.
Right,
yeah.
But
That guy just tried
even
to
George
drive
Floyd,
away.
I don't want to get into a whole debate, but he did resist too in the beginning.
Initially.
And if they just
George Floyd,
they wouldn't
right.
they wouldn't resist, it might help that tense situation to not.
But then you also
got
to realize too is that the other side of that is cops ain't always good people per se.
Right, they're just going to shoot them.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's where the resistance comes in. I guess they're afraid that they're going to get shot. So they're like, let me get out of here. I don't want to get shot.
It could. So,
at nighttime, all these other
I'll tell you, it totally
Yeah.
changed. Before that, I had no experience with this, and I would have definitely thought, been pro-prosecution, and if the cops arrest you, you probably did something wrong kind of mentality.
Yeah.
It totally changed me. Because here's the other thing that happened. The police, what this witness was totally, everything totally credible. No. And then the cop the guy comes up to me after the judge throws it out. The cop comes up to me, he starts yelling at me, saying, next time you don't. And instead of saying, I'm sorry, we got the wrong guy.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't ever take anything in your own hands. Boom, boom, because I went out after, in the story, which he didn't know because he never asked me. I told him that in the story that, this guy's son was killed in Iraq. He runs out to break this fight up. I go after him, feeling like I want just to help in case he gets in trouble.
Yeah.
I want to be able to help him.
So the cop yelled at you for doing that?
Yeah, he yelled at me for doing that, which he didn't even know till that day that I did that. And he yells at me, and I was like, I wouldn't have done anything different.
Because you had to have done something wrong in his mind. You had to have done something wrong.
I guess.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I was like shocked. It totally shocked the heck out of me.
Did they ever get the guy that had the gun?
Well, here's the other part of the story that I forgot to mention. When I found that guy the night before, he told me, you know what? That guy the guy with the gun was in the restaurant. And he was able to tell the judge who that guy was. He knew his name.
Okay.
And he said he was in the restaurant laughing and telling people what happened. They arrested somebody else.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, well, look, great, tell the guy that.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what a coincidence. And it was actually, he said, it was like either the night before or 2 days before recently that guy went back to that restaurant and was bragging that he didn't get arrested.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
I know. I was like, oh.
And did he do the right thing? Go and say, no, that was me?
No,
of course
sure
not.
didn't.
Yeah, just bragging about it. Yeah.
Right. Well.
Yeah.
Well,
to have a gun and start pulling at someone.
It totally changed my, my view. And when I see these things happening now, with Derek Chauvin and Greg Lloyd, or Lloyd Gregg.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sympathetic towards it now. You don't realize those things, and you really realize them when they happen to you.
A friend of mine that I worked with was in a Walmart parking lot, and he had just gotten out of his car, and there's a policeman questioning this young black guy in a car. So the cop's leaning over, talking to this black guy. And my friend could tell it was not a nice exchange. Okay. Couldn't hear everything, but he could see the aggression going on. And he said he walked up to that car just to stand there and watch.
Witness.
But in his mind, he thought that if the cops saw him watching, he would not do anything,
dangerous. Or
how recently was this?
It's quite a few, about 6-7 months ago.
Okay, so it's pretty recent.
So he said the kid, it was a young guy that was in the car. It wasn't even like an older man. The cop did eventually leave him alone. I don't know what he questioned him about in the first place, but he started to cry.
Aww.
It killed me. The kid started to cry.
Yeah.
And he thanked my coworker for, just being there.
Yeah.
He said, he didn't intervene. He didn't say to the cop, don't go near him, don't do anything. He just stood there.
Right, because there was a witness.
And the cop didn't tell him to go away. He just...
Well, he can't. He can stand there.
No, well, he could if he wanted to. He could say, get back, He
could, but in reality, the cop can't do anything to the guy. He's just standing in a parking lot.
And he was close.
Well,
he was very close to what was happening.
Yeah.
And so the kid in the car was just so grateful, was crying and said, I don't know what would happen.
That's something to be mindful of.
Sad.
But then again, you might be putting yourself in harm's way to do something like that. Because,
exactly.
Well, my best friend that I grew up with, Billy Johnson, you met, and John McEwen was my other best friend. He became a chief of police of Williamstown. He was the chief of police. So, and me and him, we did all kinds of stupid, illegal things.
I can bet that's why you were arrested in the first place.
Made up
we did stupid, illegal things.
For his youth.
We drove around drinking.
There you go.
maniacs. That's like most normal. I mean, yeah. Hey, there's many times when, not many. I would say a couple. There was a couple times where I had interactions with police, and the cops totally.
They didn't do anything?
I didn't do anything. Well, they gave me, they let me go.
If you look different, that might not have happened.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to say,
Yeah.
basically.
There was definitely times when cops were cool with me. And, you know, and that happened a few times in my life, and I was like, okay, cops are cool. But then this happened, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe they're not. Or they can be both, I suppose, right?
Yeah, good and bad in every scenario.
Yeah, I told him, I'm like, imagine he was African American and he reached down.
Oh, man, I would have been probably
Yeah, you would have been.
There was actually about 15 to 20 people there that night, and they came, the cars came, and they were like, guns out, everybody get up against the wall, and I started walking towards, and I looked down, I saw my shoe untied, and that's when I did it.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. But
like I said, never tie your shoe.
it's innocent and stupid as it was.
Yeah.
Wear loafers.
Had I not done that, I guess I don't know what would have happened. The guy said I was the one showing the gun on the person.
Yeah.
Which was like, I know that was impossible.
Yeah.
I know he didn't see it, but he looked right at me when he ID'd me right in the court. He was like, that's him. That was the guy.
Oh, my heart.
Before the judge. I was like, what do you do when that happens? I mean, when you know
Cry.
the truth.
Yeah.
And a cop, and he was a sergeant.
Can't really cry like us.
Like says, that was him. I was like, there ain't no damn way. Thank goodness I found this guy. I don't know what would have happened. Would I have been...
That was fate.
Would anyone have taken me and put me in... Lock me up for whatever the penalty is?
We
Would
would
they
have had an
fined me?
innocent project to talk about. Than you.
Well, I just thank God. I mean, it was like a miracle that I found this dude.
Yeah.
And...
No, really it was.
And it wasn't too much of a miracle that, you know, thankfully it wasn't a jury. I don't know, maybe I would have had to, maybe if I would have been, I don't know what would have happened after that.
It all depends on the crime itself and all that kind of thing. You might not have gone to trial. It could have been a hearing that you had.
I was at the,
Yeah. I don't know. It all depends on
I don't know.
what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Maybe
been fined or what the heck.
Yeah, probably
Community
fine.
service.
Or
Community
You pick up
service and
trash.
stuff. Yeah.
Probably community service.
Yeah.
I think.
Nobody got hurt.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, and if they found a gun and you had an illegal gun,
Yeah.
that
and
would be-
throws
Yeah.
more charges on.
Yeah, that would be-
Yeah.
Yeah.
a big
Yeah.
deal.
So, and then that's all that happened with Juan. Then he got out of jail after 6 months and turned his life around.
Well, he did. He definitely.
Not that he had done anything majorly wrong, but
No,
he realized he needed to do something.
He definitely took it and, you know, made himself, I guess, better, as you would say. But so that was kind of a cool story hearing that.
Yeah.
And he ended up becoming friends with this lawyer, and the lawyer that Todd Melnick, who was a New Yorker, and they had a couple times had flown and seen baseball games together, the Yankees and the Dodgers and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, what a great story. I mean, a terrible story could have been a terrible story.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, all right, so I think we're going to wrap this up, and I guess we'll say until next time.
Bye.